Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, we are talking macros. Well, to be specific, we are talking one of the best macros I have ever used. Yeah, hopefully that overselling doesn't come back to bite us in the... do you know what, let's just get into this. So before we get into the details, let's have a quick overview of what this macro actually does. Simply put, the macro will swap one action bar for the other while still maintaining your keybinds. Yeah, it really is that simple of a macro. Think of it as a way of turning 12 buttons into 24. And in a game like WoW, which even post pruning, although we have had some added back in, we have a ton of buttons. More than most players are normally confronted with if they're not used to the MMO genre. And if, like myself, you're using a big gaming mouse that has hundreds of buttons all over it, having more abilities, being able to be bound onto those buttons is just pure heaven. But before we take a look at the macro itself and how I have found it useful, let's take a look at what a macro is and how to create them. If you've played WoW for any amount of time, feel free to skip this. You have more than enough knowledge of macros. But for those of you that are new to WoW, as I say, feel free to take a quick look at this and learn what macros can do for you. Now, first up, don't worry about macros being something naughty or that's going to get you banned. Blizzard control what the macros are capable of doing within WoW. This is built into WoW. We're not going to need to go external or anything for this. Back in vanilla, you could create crazy one-shot macros that could fire off a ton of skills with simply one button press. This can no longer be done. So sleep easy, you are safe to start playing around with macros, have some fun, because macros will change how you view this game. If you want more details about all the things that are possible with macros, shameless plug, down in the description. But with that disgusting shameless promotion out of the way, what you want to do is head to the main menu. Now normally this is bound to your escape key, or it's the little question mark found on your minibar. Here you will find macros, and you have two options. You have general. This means that no matter what character you jump on, you'll be able to access this selection of macros. Or you have private, or character only. These can only be seen by, well, yeah, you've kind of guessed it, that character only. Now, I would suggest the macro that we're about to do, putting that in the general tab, that way all of your characters can have access to this. The only reason you'd really put something in private is if it's something that's going to be very specific to that character, and you don't really want to clutter up your general tab. So to the macro itself, this realistically could not be simpler, and I mean that. It is literally / swap action bar 1-3. Yeah, that is it. As you can guess, this will literally create a button that will allow us to swap between bar 1 and bar 3. Feel free to change these as you want, but that's literally as simple as this macro gets. So let's go and create this macro for ourselves. In the general tab within macros, we want to click new. Call the macro whatever you want, so you know what it's going to be. Pick a suitable image that encapsulates whatever you want. Now you'll be able to add the macro itself, and that is / swap action bar. And in my case, 1-3, but you can pick what you want, and then save it. Now, all you need to do is simply drag that button image down to your bars, and you are done. You may find when you first hit that button that it swaps, and hang on a minute, my second bar is now filled with stuff. Where's that come from? That is because bar 3 has obviously already been assigned with various abilities and buttons and everything else. Now, if those are the abilities that you want on those spots, fantastic, you are all good. If they are not, and you are using the default UI, simply go to whichever bar you've selected as a secondary bar. Let's say in my case it would be bar 3. I'll remove all of those offending icons, and then I will refill them with the abilities that I actually want to use on that spot. If you are using something like LVUI, where you can have all of your bars all over the screen at once, then this will take a few extra steps. So here we go. Now, as you can see here, I have bar 3 shown on the bottom left of my UI, which means that when I use my bar swap button, oh fudge, it's already full of stuff that is appearing in that bottom left-hand bar. And should I try to remove them from, say, my quick swap bar, it's moving them off of both. This is not great. All you need to do if this happens is go into the LVUI menu, go to your action bars, select bar 3, and simply tick that box where it says enabled, And that will now make that bar disappear and it will no longer be enabled. You can still swap to it, it just means it will not be active on the screen. Then go down to one of your other bars that is currently inactive. I often pick bar 8, for instance, and then replace the now disappeared bar 3 with bar 8, and you can put whatever buttons to it. All good. Now, the reason I find this macro so good is I can have all of my major abilities to hand without needing to control or shift or whatever to make ever-increasing ability bindings. Do you know fine well, if I try and do control, shift, H or whatever, I am going to break my old man hands trying to do finger break dancing over my keyboard. It's just not going to happen. Also, and far more important to me, is I'm left-handed. So I actually use my numpad to move my character. Oh, alright. It's not that bad, come on. But it does means that my hand is a very long way from a shift key. The macro also doesn't trigger any GCDs, so I can simply hit an ability that triggers the GCD, quickly hit my swap action bar, hit the next ability that I want, that ability will trigger GCD, then swap back, and I am all good. It's just as quick as if I was doing a control, keybind, or anything else. Now, personally, I use this to have all of my main abilities for that class, or that spec, to hand on one bar. But my longer cooldowns, my defensives, my trinkets, things like that, things I'm not going to use on my basic rotation, will be on my alternative bar. But also equally to hand. Should I quickly need a defensive, I can just hit my alternative action bar button, boom, hit that ability, and then back I go. It takes far longer to say than it actually does to do it in practice. Where it really shines for me is with regards to healing. I have my healing abilities on bar 1, and I'm using mouse over macros for them. Then I can hit this macro and swap to my alternative bar for all of my DPS abilities, which is great for if I'm out in the world doing something, or, which is now needed in dungeons, I have the ability to just start opening fire with the DPS, and should I then need to go healing, boom, I can just hit the button and I can go back to healing. This is a really, really simple, I cannot go over how simple this macro actually is. And if you already use it, you'll know how good it is. This is not something that I have secretly screwed away. I found this many moons ago on the WoW forum. Apologies, I can't remember who put it on there, so I'd most definitely give you a shout out. If you're brand new to WoW, if you've just joined, and it all just seems really overwhelming, and you're struggling with so many abilities, this could really help you out. You can have a couple of key bindings that you're really comfortable with, and now you can have the ability to just hit another key. All those key bindings just swap to the next set of abilities, and all of a sudden you're doubling up what your comfortable key binds can do. And that's great. And sure, as you learn, as you go develop as a player, you can start adding in your shifts, your controls, and do all the things that works for you. Because at the end of the day, that's all this is about. It's about finding things that work for you to make you the best possible player that you can be. But that's enough from me, everyone. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Layers, everyone.